You wake up tired in a way that sleep never seems to touch. Not the kind of tired that comes from a long day, but the deeper kind. The kind that settles into the chest and hums quietly all the time. If you are a single mother, this tiredness isn't dramatic. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It shows up when the house finally goes quiet and you realize you've been holding your breath all day. It shows up when you sit on the edge of the bed and feel the weight of being everything to someone, all the time, without pause, without a safety net. And if no one has told you this clearly yet, let it be said now. The exhaustion you feel is not a weakness. It is a consequence of carrying more than one nervous system on your shoulders. There is a particular loneliness that comes from being needed constantly but rarely held. You are surrounded by small hands reaching for you, voices calling your name, responsibilities that cannot be postponed. And yet there are moments when you feel strangely invisible, as if the world sees the role you play but not the person inside it. You are praised for being strong, but rarely asked how much that strength costs. Strength in your life is not a personality trait. It is a survival position you were pushed into, often without consent, often without warning. Psychologically, single motherhood doesn't begin the day you become a parent alone. It begins much earlier, in the places where you learn that love and safety were not guaranteed. Many single mothers carry a history of quiet adaptation. Childhoods where you learn to read the room early, to sense emotional shifts, to become responsible before it was age-appropriate. Maybe you were the child who didn't want to be a burden. Maybe you learned that asking for help led to disappointment, or worse, guilt. Over time, your nervous system learned a simple rule. If I don't hold everything together, it will fall apart. This is not a belief you chose consciously. It formed the way stone forms under pressure, slowly, invisibly. Each small moment taught you that stability came from you, not from anyone else. That love might be conditional. That rest was something other people earned. These lessons don't disappear when you become an adult. They follow you quietly into motherhood, where they suddenly have a place to fully express themselves. When you became a single mother, something old inside you recognized the terrain. The hypervigilance, the constant scanning, the sense that if you let your guard down, something important might be lost. Your mind didn't panic because it was unfamiliar. It panicked because it knew this feeling too well. Being the only pillar holding something precious upright triggers ancient survival wiring. Your brain shifts into protection mode, narrowing its focus, prioritizing function over feeling. That's why many single mothers describe feeling emotionally flat or numb at times. It's not because you don't feel deeply. It's because feeling everything all the time would be unbearable. So your psyche learns to ration emotion. Joy becomes quieter, sadness becomes private, anger gets swallowed and turns into fatigue. You become incredibly efficient, incredibly capable, and quietly disconnected from your own inner world. This isn't a flaw, it's a shield. Attachment wounds play a subtle role here. If your early experiences taught you that closeness could be unstable, unpredictable, or temporary, your system learned to self-soothe through control. Control over schedules, control over outcomes, control over yourself. Single motherhood intensifies this pattern because there is no backup adult to lean on. No shared nervous system to co-regulate with at the end of the day. You become both the anchor and the ship, steadying yourself while sailing forward. There is also grief woven into this experience, even if you rarely name it. Grief for the partnership you imagined. Grief for the version of motherhood that included rest, shared laughter, and emotional backup. Grief for the parts of yourself that had to be set aside to keep everything running. But grief, when unacknowledged, doesn't disappear. It turns inward. It becomes a heaviness you carry without words. You tell yourself you don't have time to feel it. And you're right, you don't, so it waits. Many single mothers operate in a state of quiet survival. On the outside, things look functional. The kids are fed, the bills are paid. Life moves forward. But inside, there is often an invisible erosion, a slow wearing down of softness. You stop expecting to be met emotionally. You stop hoping someone will notice your effort without being asked. Hope, after all, can feel dangerous when disappointment has been a frequent visitor. You may notice that asking for help feels strangely uncomfortable, even when you desperately need it. This isn't pride, it's conditioning. Somewhere along the way, your nervous system learned that relying on others came with strings attached. That help might be taken away. That independence was safer than vulnerability. So you learn to do it all yourself, not because you want to, but because your body doesn't fully trust that support will last. This is why well-meaning advice often misses the mark. When people say, just take time for yourself, They don't understand that your system is always calculating risk. Time for yourself means something else doesn't get done. Rest feels unsafe when responsibility is constant. Your mind doesn't relax easily because it has learned that relaxation equals exposure. Letting your guard down feels like leaving the door unlocked in a storm. There is also the quiet identity shift that happens. You become known as the strong one, the responsible one, the one who can handle it. Over time, this identity can feel like a cage, because once you are seen as strong, people stop checking in. They stop offering help. Your pain becomes less visible because it doesn't fit the story others have about you. And slowly, you may start to believe that your needs are less important than everyone else's. But here is the reframe that changes everything. None of this means you are broken. It means your system adapted beautifully to circumstances that required strength beyond what should have been asked of one person. Your coping mechanisms are not character flaws. They are evidence of intelligence, resilience, and deep care. You learn to become reliable because someone had to be. You learn to stay alert because something precious depended on you. The problem is not that these strategies exist. The problem is that they never get to rest. Survival behaviors are meant to be temporary. But when life doesn't offer a clear moment of safety, they become a lifestyle. And living in survival mode for too long makes everything feel heavier than it needs to be. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because your nervous system hasn't been shown that it's allowed to soften. Healing, for a single mother, does not begin with doing more. It begins with permission. Permission to acknowledge that this is hard. Permission to name your loneliness without minimizing it. Permission to admit that you are tired of being strong. Healing starts the moment you stop interpreting your exhaustion as failure and start seeing it as a signal. Slowly, gently, healing looks like letting yourself feel in small, safe doses. It looks like noticing when you hold your breath and reminding yourself to exhale. It looks like accepting help without explaining yourself. It looks like allowing joy to be imperfect, not earned, not scheduled. Just present. It also looks like redefining strength. Strength is not doing everything alone. Strength is knowing when your system needs support and honoring that truth. Strength is modeling emotional honesty for your children, not emotional invisibility. When you allow yourself to be human, you teach them that love does not require self-erasure. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are navigating a role that demands constant emotional labor with very little recognition. The fact that you are still standing, still caring, still trying to understand yourself, speaks volumes about your capacity for love. And love, when it has been stretched thin, deserves care too. One day, perhaps not soon, but someday, your nervous system will learn that safety can exist alongside responsibility. That you don't have to earn rest through exhaustion. That being held does not make you weak. Until then, be gentle with yourself. You are not just raising a child. You are slowly, quietly learning how to hold yourself in a world that asked you to grow up too fast. And that, in its own quiet way, is a form of healing already in motion.